guess it's more of a statement on what something that you said excuse me, baby girl, because I was taking notes, and something that you said is the inner me, not the enemy, and that registered with me. And then Terry, when you were talking about how you were when you became a mother and different things like that, and how that feeling, it was that little girl in you, and I had to think about that because I too was a teen mom. I was 17 when I had my oldest child, who just turned 39 this year. I don't know how he get that old, but anyway, when I'm only like 30. But that question and your statement, because it was the inner me that was the enemy. We want to blame things on the enemy, on the devil, but we got to look inward. We got to look in that mirror to see. So that statement just truly registered with me. And then with that little girl, the little girl in me, that person I was before motherhood, that was the question. And you was talking the little girl. The little girl in me was looking for love because my dad was there but wasn't there. So that little girl in me was looking for love. And so it did some self reflection there. But I love that statement, the inner me, not the enemy me. So I just want to tell you how profound that statement was to me. And I wrote it down. So I want to put it on social media, but I'm going to put your name
No, no,
on
no.
it.
So that's the thing. You don't put my name by it. I'm gonna tell you what you're gonna put. You're gonna put. I'll take. So, but it came from my spiritual mommy, my
Okay.
spiritual tea mommy, Dr. Apostle Shalonda. So she has helped me along this
Praise
journey.
God.
So that's one of the things that she taught
Well,
me.
that was
It is
amazing. I love
profound
that.
wording.
I love that. I love that. I love that.
So thank you so much. You sure can.
Unnecessary need to, but that's the one thing I had to learn because we live in victim mentality a lot. And the victim mentality we learned, a lot of us learned in church was the devil's busy, the devil's doing it, the devil's doing it. But that's a spiritual matter. That's a spiritual concept. The devil's not a physical thing. It's the spirit behind things. So when we begin to look at it from that perspective, we understand that it's only that which happens on the inside of me that makes the difference. So the inner me is the enemy. It's the same way the inner me is your hero. If you choose it to be your hero. Me and we were riding and we were talking about the difference between the kingdom of God or the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is a consciousness. And if you choose to live in hell, that's where you're gonna live. And God will be there with you. Even if you make your bed in hell, right? Isn't it in the scriptures? So even if you make your bed in hell, that's mindset. I'm suffering, I'm hungry, I'm mad, I'm angry, I'm rageful. And nobody else can choose to be that or not be that for you but you. So when you become to understand that, you take the responsibility and you say, hey, this inner me is my enemy. I'm mad at my mom, I'm mad at my daddy, I'm mad at my cousins, them. Like they didn't have problems too. They had their own stuff. And to speak to that while I'm standing here, they had their own stuff. And they did the best decision. Because had they kept you, it would have been a whole nother situation. And so that pain in there is I don't feel wanted, but it really is, hey, let me try to put myself in their shoes real quick. Because when you was laying in that bed and you felt that need, then you take yourself and you put yourself in their shoes. Well, dang, I wonder how they felt. I wonder if they was facing something that they had to run away from. I wonder if they was about to die. I wonder if they felt like they couldn't do it. I wonder if they were 12 and 10 and got pregnant or something. You never know, right? So when we begin to take ownership and say, you know what? I don't want to live with this misery no more. I don't want to live with this pain no more. So what am I going to do? Some of us run to churches, houses. That's great if it's going to give you what you need. But you got to run. You got to check yourself.
Oh, I have a two-part question. I don't remember your name on it. Terry. Terry, I'm sorry. You talked about being that little girl in after having kids and then in marriage, right? So the first part of the question is, how do you find your voice um, as an adult, right? You had you were that same little girl after you had kids. How do you find your voice, to verbalize and say the things that you're feeling and experiencing after becoming a parent to find who you are? And then that question's for you. And then Taisha's question for you is, you were saying, as we have older kids, you tell us now to find our voice to discover who we are.
I first had to love that little girl. So I was angry with her, I was mad, I hated her. But the minute I started loving her, forgiving her, I got a voice because I could speak to her then and say to her, I love you. That's when I was able to say, I got a voice now because I had to let go of all of that hurt and anger and rage and I guess I want to say what's other people built for me as trauma. Because people help influence that decision about that little girl. So when I started to say, I love you, I forgive you, it's not your fault. You didn't do that. It was a situation, it was the circumstances. And that's when God gave me a voice. And she said to me in the mirror, speak. You're okay. You got this. We got this because we became one then.
Yes, yes, yes. So to answer your question, as a parent now, and that voice, the fact that your baby is leaving to become an adult. So where is that voice? That voice comes from looking at that child and say, by the grace of God, I did this. I know that I gave him everything that I had and I did the best I could with what I had. And to look at the product that's standing in front of you, you can go ahead and pop your ish. You feel me? You go ahead and pop it, and not in a way of arrogance, but in a way of, God, I'm grateful. God, I'm thankful. God, I know it was nobody but you. Whether I'm a single mom or I did this with a village or without a village, I know that in the midst of the fire, you were there. And I know once they leave, you're going to still be with them. Now, my voice, I had to make sure that little girl was all right, because when the little girl is not all right, then their adult you is still not going to be all right. The baby is a band-aid to you having a voice, because though I don't have a voice for myself, I got a voice for my child. But when that child become an adult, they got their own voice. They began to speak. So you feel like, well, dang, the voice I thought I had is gone. Is that you really never had it, sis? Is that it was masked by you having this child that you had to be a voice for. Because as a parent, we're going to stand 10 toes behind ours. But sometimes with us, it's like you know what? I'm just going to hold on to that. I'm just going to push it to the side and not really deal with it. But now it's one of the best stages, because you can look at what you poured into somebody. If you're able to pour all of that into a person, where it come from? So it's already in you. It's just waiting on you to say, all right, you know what? Let me activate it. Let me activate it for me and not for him, her, them, and those. But this thing is personal. So once it becomes personal and you accept that this is personal, then you'll get your voice and you won't stop talking. You will know when to speak and when not to speak. So I hope that answers your question.
First of all, Terry, I said, when you fail, how will you get back up? And when you got back up, I need to see what it looked like. Sis. Stand up, because I know your journey. So
Is that what it looks like to get those information? I'm still giving up. That's the thing. I'm not all the way up, but I'm still getting up.
Yes.
But as I'm getting up, I can walk there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, girl.
I can walk in the room and feel good. I'm yet on that journey of healing. It's an everyday thing. So I have not arrived. I'm on my way.
Yes.
And on my way, God is with me. I'm walking with God. And the thing about it is, I'm still down, but in down, God allows me to look up and live.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm okay. And it's not about a time frame of how fast I'm gonna get back there. I'm already there. It's the a lady said something to me about having a poverty mindset. Not so much literally as you're broke, but having a mindset of poverty. I refuse to have that mindset. No matter how far I fall or what I do, I'm still in the mindset that I can get up, walk, and live. I can look up and live. So being down is not it's not a bad thing. I'm happy. It's a place of growth. It's a place of healing. So I'm still yet getting there.
All right.
And here we go. I met your son a long time ago. When I met him, he was a Michael Jackson impersonator, and I thought it was kind of ironic that the movie's out, and I actually was on his podcast a couple of days ago, and his uncle is a childhood friend of mine, Jason Jones. Grew up with him, we went to kindergarten together. But how important was the love that your children had for you on your road to redemption? Like, how did that help you?
Well, I want to say, back to the Michael Jackson, that was very important for me to see my child dance or impersonate. Because for me, my story of being out there in the streets, I knew that I didn't want my child out there in the streets. So I made sure that whatever it took, I wanted to make sure that that kid was not out in the street. So that Michael Jackson, when he died, and this kid is saying, "Who's Michael Jackson?" We made sure we knew. We wanted him to know who was Michael Jackson. So we remember this kid. Actually, the carpet was just, I don't know. I don't know if the carpet, we had a piece of carpet right there in the living room and the dining room that he just slid back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. At that time, my dad was living. And I remember my dad looking and seeing this boy just dancing, impersonating, just doing whatever he had to do. So I'm thinking that doing that, to answer your question, that they seeing me throughout that time period of them seeing mom struggling, I don't even know, because I never showed them me crying. I never showed them that mom didn't have $1 in their purse to feed them. I just know that I'd struggled and made sure that they had a plate of food in their table. I never told them that, hey, mom didn't have money to pay the bill for the gas or the water to help my dad, because we lived with my dad at the time. I just knew that I had 2 kids to provide. And I knew that, I had to do whatever it takes to be that role model. And I hope that they, today as an adult child, though I see them as babies still, but knowing that the love that I have for them, that they show for their kids as well when they get older, their babies as well. I know that may not answer your question, but because it's tough, because you show them love, that whether it's monetarily
or if there's just, that hug every day, because I call them and text them. They probably say, Mom, I don't have time right now. I got a meeting. Mom, you called the wrong time. Every day. I call them the same time every day because I don't have my parents. And those parents that are biologicals, I don't have that. So I want to make sure that I'm there because one day I'm not going to be there. And the voice that I have today, I want them to remember that. So every day I make sure that they know this voice is there and that I love them no matter what. We may not be agreeable every day. We may not agree every day. We may fight occasionally. Um, in the MJ days, when I was his manager, we fought. I
was going to ask you that next. Were you the one? Because I remember seeing him at auditions. I was
his
doing basically what I'm
manager.
doing now.
I was that Joseph.
Okay.
I was that Joseph, and yes, I was, but I don't think I was as mean as Joseph, but yeah, as they portrayed to be Joseph. But I really was that disciplined person because I knew that I was being that military child from a military brat, and I knew that the discipline was very important. So I asked them. Restrictions was very important. So the love, again, it was just total love. It wasn't that, hey, you have to do this, you have to do that, you do this. Although it sounded like that, but it was strictly just love. And I received the love that they give me now. It's like, I love it. They give these little flowers and I get cards and sometimes don't accept it. I'm like, wow, you're giving that to me? Oh, wow. Yeah, they love me after all.
Thank you.
It's on. Disclaimer: I'm not pregnant. Okay, I just have a question. The question I'm finna ask, because I know you was probably gonna get worried about like why am I asking that question, but I'm not. I just want you to know that. Okay, this is for everybody. I actually have two questions. The first question is, what is the lesson from your journey of motherhood that you want to teach someone entering motherhood? That's the first question. And then the second question is, what lesson did your children teach you or child?
First question, I'll just say consideration, being considerate, and extending grace to yourself. When you extend grace and you're considerate, you'll do things differently. Consideration goes a long way because you think about that person and yourself. And when you extend grace, you go beyond that consideration because you think about you think about the worst that could have happened. Well, okay, maybe they didn't do this or that. We think about what could have when we extend that grace. And I'm at a place now, baby, I'm giving out grace left and right. Because the problem is, and I'm being considerate because I don't know what that person had to get up and go through in order to get to where they are now. So consideration and extending grace to answer your first question.
What's the question again?
Oh, what is the lesson from your journey of motherhood that you want to teach someone entering motherhood?
Okay. To share some information, because I see we have some singles or unmarried right now, but they're approaching that. And what I've learned before motherhood was basically I use my mother example. And because I grew up with her, we just 15 years apart. That was my motivation in parenthood. Because before I went into parenthood, I said I did not want to have any regrets. And before I tell you what I've learned from my child, when I was a flight attendant and when I was pregnant, I prayed long and hard before I resigned.
before I resigned, my husband and I, we prayed about it as well. And my husband said that he did not want me to resign from my dream job because flight attendant was my dream job. He said, I don't want you to resign unless you hear God so you won't have regrets. And so I began to pray and ask God, God, give me peace. Help me to with making this decision. And I'll never forget, God profoundly shared with me, you can never redo being a parent, but I will always reinvent your career. He did that for me. He did that for me. What I have learned since I was a parent, and my firstborn is 26 and our son is 20, I've learned that every child is different. And I had to pray that God would teach me how to parent each individual. My mother, her parents' style was hard and protective. I was an only child, so she was very protective. And all she wanted from me is don't get pregnant. That was her main thing. Don't get pregnant. She didn't give me no more instructions. Just don't get pregnant. Well, what I've learned with my daughter and my son is to have an open door policy. They can come to us and ask us questions. My sister was saying that before, even if I don't want to hear it, but I want to help you through whatever phase of life you're going through. So my children, they know they can kick it with me and talk it with me. Mom, Dad, our 26-year-old, she seek us for advice and guidance before she make her decisions. That's an honor. That's an honor. I didn't have that with my mother. She told me what to do. And so if I didn't do it the way she wanted me to do, I felt like I failed because I was living up to her standards. And that was hurtful because I felt like a failure when I didn't do it the way she thought it should be done. But she just did the best that she knew how. So I'm grateful for the relationship that I have with my children. Yes, we're parents first, but I want to also be their friend and let them know, like, look, you can talk to me about anything. Relationships, they can talk to us about anything. So I love that with my children. And they'll tell you, Mama, I'm nice, but they'll say, my mama go hard in the paint. Oh, yes, I will. I go hard in the paint.
So for me, it's a couple of things. One is to always be a real model and not a role model. Because if I show up real, you'll know that, wait, mama do cry. Mama do go through things. Mama bank account ain't always, I can just call the ATM and it just work. So showing up authentic, I had to learn that because I wore a mask of, I got to make sure that baby girl feel like mama just got it all together. And the gift that God has given my child, she kind of saw through a lot of it, but she didn't speak on a lot of it. And the grace that I extended her, she extended me. So even though we were, close in age, it was, I'm going to give you grace, you give me grace, and always apologize. As parents, don't feel like you're always right because we're not. And knowing that, hey, baby, I'm sorry, I messed up. Even if it's not in that moment, you get upset, y'all go y'all separate ways, but don't let it be too long before you come back and have that conversation and be like, listen, I kind of went off the edge a little bit. I'm sorry. So, I would definitely say that, and definitely the open door policy. I feel like, listen, we good, sis. Like, tell me, because that's how I was raised. Like, I didn't learn about birds and the bees. I learned about everything else. I learned it how it is in the textbook, and I learned about it how I'm hearing on the street. So I wouldn't be too green about everything in life. So just being real and authentic and showing up as yourself and healing before becoming a parent. Even though we heal, because healing is a journey and wholeness is the destination, we have to heal so our kids can live. So had I not healed to a certain degree and continue to heal, then I would have killed you, not physically, but I could have killed you spiritually, emotionally, because I couldn't give you that you needed. So instead of bleeding on you, I made sure I kind of put some band-aids until I was ready for surgery. And as an adult, I've gone through some surgery and my heart still have to go sit on the table every now and again as I transition. So hopefully that answered your question. I do have a question from the audience, but before I do this question from the audience, it's a small break that it was supposed to have happened during intermission. And Tanya was right. At every event, I am always giving something. Tanaya, could you do me a favor? Could you go and grab that from Miss Heather? So earlier, during the conversation, I mentioned how my mom didn't have her mom growing up. I think she was 7. Grandma was 7 when you were 7 when grandma passed. So she didn't have that. So to have someone to show up every day, regardless of how she's feeling, regardless of what she's going through, just being able to show up for us. I used to say, if only I could be the half of a woman that my mama is, I know I'm a great woman. Because my mama is a great woman. She's a great mother. She's a great granny. And you would think, how could she do that and not have a mom? And I know when I'm in my lowest, it's not my husband's arms I run to. And it's not no knock on him. But I just want to go get in my mama bed. I just want a hug from my mama. And I remember my mom telling us the story that every time she got pregnant, she would see my grandmother on the foot of the bed with a purple dress on. So I don't know what it's like to not hug my mama. And I don't think you know what it's like to hug yours because you were so young when she left. But I created something just for you. You can't feel it, but you can see what it's like to hug your mama. I love you, girl. I love you down. And I know I can't bring her back. We can't bring her back. But I hope this represents to let you know that your mama may not be here and you don't remember her, but she got you. She's carried you along this journey because you're continuing to carry us. And for a long time, I didn't like sharing my mama with people because I wanted to know why everybody want my mama. Go get your own. Go find your own mama. And then it dawned on me, somebody had to be a mama to my mama. So I'm okay with sharing my mama now with other people. Even grown people older than me, people around my mom's same age still call her mom. And it's out of honor and endearment. And mama, I love you. I'm grateful for you. I don't want to imagine life without you. This particular experience was a conversation me and my mom had. Because in my book, Petals of Love, I actually have a segment with all types of moms, grieving moms, teen moms, the whole 9 yards. I released the book last year and we did a similar panel. But she was like, Nikki, you should do something. And I was like, you know what, mama, I'm going to do it. The moment my mama get ready to hit the mic, y'all, and to share her story with the world, because she done been through some things she hadn't even spoke of. But I know it's God's grace that carries her and continue to carry her. So from me to you, baby, I love you, girl. And I couldn't help but have Tanaya to present it because it's just, you know. Listen, we are the production, so you've said enough, girl. Look at all this. We're gonna take it all in. I ain't gonna rush past it. I'm gonna sit for just a second and take all that in for just a moment. Whew. Right. So, parents, I know I said 4 o'clock. I, so we have a question from the audience, and I think this is gonna be our last question. Oh, I have one more after this. I'm sorry. I'm about to be 35 years old in a month. I go to church regularly. I have a master's in business and been in a 4-year loving relationship. But underneath that, sometimes I feel disappointed in myself for missed opportunities, and I feel no sense of direction or purpose in life. I'm still struggling to find my purpose in life, and I'm starting to realize that I have a lot of insecurities about myself. How do I start to become a better me or to find my purpose? So I can break the question down to answer it in pieces, or if either of you would like to answer it whole full, we can. So one of the first things I would like to address, congratulations on having that master's in business. Congratulations. Going to church regularly is good, but I want to make sure that you know that having a relationship with God is top tier. So if you have a relationship with God and you're going to church regularly, that's good, because church is supposed to be a hospital to some. So you go and get what you need. Also, this 4-year loving relationship. I don't know if it's a marriage that you're seeking or you're in a marriage. So I'm going to speak to based off of what I have. It says a 4-year long loving relationship. I'm sorry. Don't forget the loving, girl. So, but sometimes you feel disappointed in yourself for missed opportunities, and you feel you have no sense of direction or purpose in life. So I was informed during a nice little event we had. I'm gonna give you this question, and it will possibly help you find your purpose. It was an exercise, again, my teen mommy gave us. And she stated to go back to childhood, or go back to the point before you felt your initial heartbreak or felt like something is wrong. Go back to that point and see who you were at that point. And then in that, you can find and try to navigate your purpose, because that's who you are. That's who you were created to be. Yes, life happens and you begin to experience other things, because we have to go through certain things, because every test is a testimony. And even in the mess, there's a message. So even when you feel like, okay, I'm doing this life wrong, who's to say it's right and who's to say it wrong? It solely depends on you and what it is that you are wanting to accomplish. And it's not always a checklist. Life isn't about a checklist. And so many times we're so used to checking the box. But it's more than checking the box. It's literally checking your heart and positioning yourself to be aligned with what God has for you. Well, Taisha, how do I know what God has for me if I don't know which way to go? This is what you got to do. You got to be still. And I'm not just talking about moving wise, but you have to allow your mind to be still, allow your heart to be still, and turn your ear from everything and everybody except from God to hear. And he's going to put people in position to help lead and guide you. And there's no particular handbook or things of that nature. But when you pray to God, the instructions that he's going to give you, it's not going to sound like something somebody else gave you. And it may not even be this degree in business that you have that's going to be your purpose. And even with this loving, I don't know, I'm keep going back to the loving relationship, because it's emphasis on the loving part. And it's like, is it so loving because you want it to be so loving, and you feel like the insecurities is in the it's so loving, but if there's a but after the it's so loving, then that's where that insecurity is. And you have to go back and look at yourself to say, like, wait a minute, am I losing myself or have I lost myself in this relationship? Because you probably wasn't lost. You probably lost yourself there. So if that's the breaking point, or if that's the point where you feel like, I'm not really showing up the way that I should, I don't tell people to break up. You know, that's not my ministry. That ain't what God called me to do. But I want you to go back to yourself, steal away. Go back to yourself and do an evaluation of yourself, of your life, and what you want it to look like. And you give it to God, because God's going to give you the desires of your heart, not of them, theirs, and those, but of yours. So going to him and being aligned, and God is going to place people in your life who's supposed to be in there. And sometimes he get a little jazzy and he take people out your life who's not supposed to be in there. Because a lot of times we tie our purpose to being popular. We tie our purpose to the next thing that's popping. We tie our purpose to what mama and them want us to do, or what dad and them want us to do. But sometimes you got to say, hey, God, what you want me to do? And it's not always what we want to do. It's literally about what God has caused us to do. And that's where our purpose will be found in. So the insecurities, baby, I want you to know that you are beautiful. You are loved. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. And you are not here by mistake. So anything contrary to that is the issue. So speak to yourself and you tell yourself that, you know what, I am this. I am somebody. And anything that God says I am is who I am. Anything somebody say that God says I'm not, I'm not. So getting back to you, and that goes back to the inner me, because the enemy is speaking, telling you like you're insecure. That's the inside of you, because there's always a good and a bad, as we know it. So I'm gonna need for the good to outweigh the bad, so you can understand that you really got it. But it's a process, and you have to go through the process and trust it.
I still feel like I'm not empty. And what you said was to go back into that inner me. And it's the question for people who have it all together. They feel like people can see, I got this, my relationship's great, my career's great, I got this degree, right? But inside I still feel totally empty. And so when you said go back to God, let God, because you know, love, God is love, and love is all, period. So God is expressing through each and every one of us to come into full maturity. So when you going through that process, you gon' feel lost. You're supposed to feel lost, because then you won't go searching for God. You got me? If you already found, then what? So you've got to feel, this journey is meant for lost. It's meant for you to start from, because when we first get conceived, we already know we coming directly from the source. We good. That's why you go back to that little girl and find out who she is. She like to jump around. She like to dance. She like to sing. Let me rediscover that, right? Because you knew it in the beginning. Then life's journey has to happen. It has to. So when we make people feel like, oh, wait, it could have been different, and you should have did this, and you should, no. You was not supposed to have that, because it made you and brought out of you who you were supposed to be. And so when you say, I'm lost, that's the beginning of being found. And you go within yourself. You go back to the little girl. You go back to the person that what did you enjoy when you were a kid? You like to talk a lot? Girl, grab the mic and let's be a host. Right?
Know somebody.
Because somebody told you to hush. This is where the stuff start coming in. Somebody told you, I've been an old soul my whole life. You got me? All of my siblings are way older than me. I don't have anybody close to my age. I've always been an old soul. I've always been a prophet. So when somebody tell you to shut up, when you this person, then you feel like you can't be that. So then you feel lost. Who am I? They told me to sit down. They told me to be quiet. I can't do. You need to sit down and learn. But God sent me in here with the wisdom. Not that I'm too. I'm not trying to be outside of myself. But this is Him expressing through me. So when I found that person, when you find that person, then the relationship makes sense. See, I want this person to know, whoever you are listening to me, and please hear me. God didn't say leave your relationship, no. But what God did say was find yourself in the midst of that. So now you can give that, because what they feeling like is, I'm not giving this person the love they giving me because I don't know me. It's a love, I'm being loved on, but I don't know how to give them back what it is that they giving me. So once you find yourself, return to self. Isn't that what prodigal son had to do, right? Return. I come to myself. And when I come to myself, now I'm aware. See, where I was safer for me, but I needed what was out there so I can appreciate what's over there. And the one that was there now needs to be able to explore out there because I already got the solidness in here. So when you feel lost, that's the beginning of being found. And it's the most beautiful thing that you can do. That's what Terry doing. That's why she's still walking through it, and she can be proud of it, even though I haven't stood up all the way yet. I can stand in this place of, I ain't got it all together yet. But I'm walking this thing out because now I'm walking towards me. I'm walking towards the fullness of me. So good. Yep.
All right. So prayerfully, that gave you what you needed. We have one more question. Right here in the front.
Okay, so we speak about self-care. How do you balance self-care mentally and physically while walking in purpose?
Ooh. Okay, that's a good one. I have a therapist, okay? I love the Lord, but I thank God for a pastor that say, if you need counseling, get you some counseling. And we'll do spiritual counseling too. But I have a therapist. So when the people be tripping and I want to handle, with loving kindness, but then if you don't get that balance, it started making me feel like something wrong with me. And I had to have therapy to talk through what I'm dealing with, because people are people and we can't control people. And I had to learn I can control my response, but you can't control people. So, because life be lifing, but to keep that balance for me, I have a therapist, and then I have a soundboard, my husband. He gets it all. But he's my confidant, but he's my prayer partner as well. He's my prayer partner as well and my best friend. So I can go on and on with this one because I had for so long, because I'm a caring and giving person. I'm a generous person, even with my time. And when it wasn't reciprocated back, I started thinking something was wrong with me. And then I had to learn, how do I balance this in my purpose? Because God didn't call us to be nobody's doormat. So I had to learn and grow with that. And before I pivot and pass it on, the young lady that had the question, and I will be remiss if I did not say this, please, going to church is good, but relationship is everything. Relationship. When you begin to discover that relationship with you and God, and you have that alignment and that conversation, he will talk back. God wants our fellowship. So whatever it is, when you take it to him, oh gosh, that fellowship, he will give you your next moves. My testimony, when they talked about hitting rock bottom, mine was in 2010. In 2005, I opened up a youth center, poured all of my purpose and vision and all of my finances into a building. I opened up a center, Rosa Sharon, and y'all remember that, Rosa Sharon Life Center. Ran that center for 5 years and exhausted all finances. Lord, what do I do? What do I do? Thank God, again, my confidant, my soundboard, my prayer partner, my husband, He said, what God wants to do is beyond the four walls. Trust him. Trust him. So I had to pray and ask God, what do I do as I have to close this center, this building, and trust you with the purpose you entrusted me with? And he showed me when I came out, what he wanted to do was greater than the four walls. That's where radio came in. That's where TV came in. But out of my obedience to what he was telling me to do, he super exceeded my greater expectations.
I
Yes.
just got one thing, Taisha, to answer your question. I have a therapist. I do go to therapy. I love it. But the thing about it is, as one thing we have to do is honesty. Because if you don't be honest, you can't heal. He can't help, or the therapist can't help the lie. Because if we're never honest, we can't get balance. If we are honest, you can help the honesty. You can heal the honesty. But if we give falseness or fake, that's what you're going to get. So you ain't going to have no balance then, because I can't heal untruth. I can't balance untruth. I can't stable self-care because I ain't honest with the self-care I'm talking about. So when I remove the mask and I'm honest, my therapist can help me. I can have balance. I can have self-care and have honest self-care. Self-care ain't always about pampering. Being quiet helps the self-care position. It ain't always speaking to be quiet. When my heart is postured in a position to be quiet and to hear God, baby, it's plenty balance now. Because I'm in position. I'm quiet. I'm honest. And he can help heal the truth.
Well, well, well. So you have gotten two amazing answers that seal the deal. So I would like to thank each and every one of you for joining us in the release, the launch of Pieces of the Pie, where pie stands for, thank y'all, person in the environment. Because at the end of the day, our environment can shape us. And sometimes we have to unlearn some things to learn new things, to become new creatures. And every piece of your pie has a story, and your story matters. And until next time, I love y'all because I can, and there's nothing you can do about it.